Screaming in panic, she falls straight down through the tree canopy. But before she hits the ground, a strong hand reaches out to catch her. A white-haired tiger man scoops her into his arms midair. He grabs a nearby cliff edge to stop them, but the rock instantly breaks away. She nervously apologizes, admitting she might be heavier than she looks. He lets out a sigh, holding her tight as they continue to drop. Below them, the steep mountain ravine rushes past. Terrified, she tells him to actually look where he is going. He confidently boasts that, as a tiger, no cliff is beyond his reach. She reminds him that this cliff has never been conquered before. Tiger markings appear across his body as he tells her to just watch. She tries warning him about the loose stones, but he tells her to be quiet. Leaves rustle loudly as they dive deeper down the wall. That is when she notices sharp rock ledges sticking out under the leaves and points them out to him. He tries landing on them anyway, shattering the rock face into pieces. As ledges collapse beneath them, one after another, she cannot help but think this whole attempt is complete overkill. She cries out in panic for Mr. Tiger, seeing blood dripping from his forehead. He shields her body with his own as they crash down through the leaves. Silence returns to the mountain ravine. Waking up in the grass, she senses a heavy presence over her, realizing the tiger man collapsed right on top of her. She gasps and frantically scrambles backward, hurriedly adjusting her dress to sneak away before he wakes up. She reminds herself that a tiger will eat her and her entire tribe. But before she can bolt, he looms over her and demands to know who she is. She screams for him not to eat her, begging that she is not tasty and hasn't even used the bathroom today. Baffled by her frantic shifting, he asks her name, and she stammers that she is Euna. Holding his wounded head, he tries to recall why he protected her, or how they know each other. She stares back in total disbelief as he curses, realizing he cannot remember a single thing. Desperate to survive, she nervously tells him he is a wild beast with white fur, sharp teeth, and deadly claws. She stammers that he also has a tail, prompting him to wonder if she means he is just an oversized house cat. As he looms over her in confusion, he visualizes himself as a cozy feline. When he asks what he is to her, she nervously agrees, though he mutters that shape-shifting actually sounds familiar. He points out that she originally begged him not to eat her, leaving her desperately scrambling for an explanation. She blurts out that he only wanted to eat her because he is deeply in love with her. Panting nervously, she insists he adores her body, making him ask if his urge to consume her was actually romantic devotion, to which she frantically nods. Hovering close, he wonders internally whether his watering mouth is hunger or affection. She scolds him, saying she hates being pounced on like meat and prefers a gentleman. Telling him to restrain his wild urges, she urges him to let her sit up. Smelling her warmth, he hesitates to let go. But reminding himself that he saved her, he gently lifts her up. Still doubtful, he mutters that he does not feel like a cat, only to instantly leap up and hiss at a passing butterfly, leaving her staring in utter disbelief. Asking how he can transform back into a cat, she claims he needs the memory of his first transformation, which he never shared with her. She insists she is telling the truth, so he crosses his arms and asks for his own name. Caught off guard, she stammers nervously under his intense, intimidating gaze, before he suddenly mutters that his name must be Whiskers, which she quickly confirms. A dark growl escapes him as he winces in obvious distaste, making her panic that he hates the name, though he struggles to hold his temper back. Letting out a heavy sigh to calm himself down, he leans in close and addresses her as the love of his life, asking if she would ever lie to him. She vigorously shakes her head no, barely keeping her composure, but he still questions how he could be a cat when he stands so much taller than her. She counters that in cat form he is tiny, fragile, and innocent, leaving him inwardly hating every word. He decides he will just have to stay by her side to verify her story himself. Suddenly, a rope drops down from above, signaling help. Grabbing the rope while tucking her under his arm, he suddenly pauses and reminds her of what she said. Gazing down at her intently, he softly asks if she loves him too. She nervously stammers that she is still thinking about it, making him wonder if she is rejecting him. Flustered, she insists she isn't rejecting him, just still deciding. She adds that she needs to confirm he is a truly good, gentle man who never gets angry or kills. Above them, the rope tightens against the cliff edge, and two small boar children peek over the top, calling out to her. Carrying her up, he arrives at her village where the locals stare at the imposing newcomer. Suddenly, the startled villagers poof into their boar forms, while he carries her right through the clearing. Hoping to diffuse the tension, she loudly announces that her hero Whiskers saved her and asks everyone for applause. The village boars just stand there in bewildered silence until he shoots them an intimidating glare, instantly forcing everyone to break into nervous clapping. She quickly explains that he lost his memory after hitting his head and needs rest. As the crowd nods along without question, she offers to let him put her down so he does not tire himself out, while the villagers whisper among themselves about his lack of clothes. She offers to guide Whiskers to his sleeping area, but a strict female matriarch steps in, sternly declaring that he will be staying in her room instead. She meekly yields to the matriarch's order, while he takes this as proof they cohabitate, which she nervously covers up by reminding him he is her pet cat. Whiskers decides to inspect the room himself, stepping into her quiet village home. As he looks around the dimly lit room, he notes a strange scent and asks if a large predator was inside. Panicking that his instincts might uncover her lies, Euna suddenly lunges forward and hugs him tightly. She quickly makes up a story, claiming he was attacked by that predator, which is how they fell off the cliff, leaving him flustered by her sudden embrace. Smiling warmly, she thanks him for saving her, leaving him completely speechless. As he holds her, he notices how remarkably soft she feels, thinking to himself that he could stay like this all day. Suddenly, the intensity of her emotion causes her to poof back into a small boar. She quickly transforms back into a human, nervously joking that shape-shifting is like a sneeze. Internally, she panics, recalling how tigers love to play with their prey before eating it. To distract him, she urges him to sit down so she can bandage his wounded forehead. Whiskers wonders why holding her feels so right and why letting go feels so hard. However, he points out that he cannot smell his own presence in the room at all, only a foul stench, and asks when she last cleaned the place. When he angrily shouts about how terrible it smells, she secretly celebrates that her messy boar habits disguised her lie. She casually explains that they only come inside to sleep, leaving him growling in annoyance. Euna tries to deflect by insisting he needs pants before she cleans up, and she carefully sits beside him to bandage his forehead wound. As she works, she notices he is staring directly at her without blinking. Seeing his unblinking gaze, she recognizes the intense look of a tiger studying its prey before a hunt. She freezes in terror as her boar instincts scream at her to flee. Panicking, she turns away and tries to scramble toward the door. Seeing her turn her back triggers something deep inside him, awakening an irresistible predator's instinct to give chase. As hunter impulses flood his mind, his eyes lock onto her moving figure, and in a single bound, he leaps forward and tackles her to the floor. Flushed and breathing heavily from the sudden rush, he pins her beneath him, explaining that whenever she turns her back, he feels an overwhelming urge to grab her. Euna trembles uncontrollably in his overpowering hold, while he buries his face in her neck to sniff her scent. She cries out in panic, explaining she was only trying to get him a drink of water. As Whiskers holds her close, her rapid heartbeat sends a rush of adrenaline through him, making him wonder what he truly wants from her. Swallowing hard as his mouth waters, a wild urge tempts him to take what he craves right now. Sensing the danger, Euna reaches out and touches his hand, telling him to calm down and keep himself under control. As he pulls back, a sudden ache throbs in his chest, leaving him wondering why his heart hurts so much for her. An awkward silence falls over the room as they sit side by side. Softening his tone, Whiskers murmurs a quiet apology, warning her never to turn her back again, because he can't resist the urge to pounce. Trying to ease the tension, Euna smiles brightly and asks him to trust her, though he immediately eyes her with deep doubt. Quickly pivoting her strategy, she pats his hand and reminds him that he was injured trying to protect her. He admits that might be true, but still can't fathom why her back triggers such an impulse. Reassuring him with a smile, Euna cheerfully lies that he simply has a huge back fetish. As Whiskers recoils in disbelief, she casually claims he always chased her because he loved her back, and that she accepted his perverted side anyway. She tops it off by calling him a great cat despite his gutter brain. Shuddering in disgust, Whiskers mutters that he really doesn't want to trust her. She tells him not to be ashamed, leaving Whiskers unsure whether to feel touched or insulted. Hearing a creak, Whiskers growls and pulls her close. Two little boars trot in, admitting they thought she died and planned a funeral. Euna smiles, introducing her younger brothers Junie and Min as one drops a flower. Whiskers catches their scent, identifying the second smell in the room. Holding her brothers, Euna tells him to rest while she visits the matriarch. Alone again, Whiskers wonders why his scent is missing and recalls a thrilling memory. Realizing holding her made him lose control, he resolves to suppress his urges. Sighing, he tries staying calm despite his urge to leap on her. Annoyed by the sticky floor, he grumbles about when it was last cleaned. Outside, Euna tells a friend that Whiskers believes he loves her. Her friend gasps in shock that she tricked a tiger, but Euna defends herself. Her friend promises to inform the matriarch, as Euna asks where everyone went. She is stunned to learn the village abandoned them. Hearing they fled due to the tiger, Euna promises to get rid of him. Her friend doubts her, warning that he still has a tiger's instincts. Euna asks her to act normal, but pauses when her friend mentions having 3 boyfriends. Her friend gleefully explains she added another boyfriend last night to catch up with others. When urged to do the same, Euna sighs that one partner is enough. Her friend tells her to enjoy boar freedom instead of human rules. Her friend enthusiastically praises her free-spirited boar lifestyle. When Euna points out she never cared for boys before, her friend jokes that hormones changed everything. As night falls, Euna and her brothers decide to sleep outside on the porch, terrified of the tiger inside. Her little brother even dramatically accepts his fate in case the beast gets hungry. Suddenly, the door creaks open, and Whiskers peers out, asking why they are sleeping out there. Euna stammers nervously that she just didn't want to disturb his sleep. Whiskers glares down at the piglets, annoyed that they are getting in his way. He then urges Euna to step inside before she catches a cold. Realizing that running away might trigger his tiger instincts, Euna decides not to resist. Whiskers smirks, teasingly asking if she is afraid he will eat her. Euna can only cry internally in complete agreement. He holds out his hand toward her. Euna watches him cautiously. Whiskers reminds himself to stay calm until he gets more answers about his past. He extends his hand again, gently telling her to come inside. Taking her hand, he whispers that it is time for bed. Once inside, Whiskers pats the blanket beside him, inviting her to lie down. Euna grins softly, asking if he has already forgotten his proper spot. Confused, Whiskers asks where that would be. She snugly tucks herself under the blanket and sends him to lie down at her feet like a house cat. Whiskers complains that he cannot shrink into a small cat anymore, asking how he is supposed to fit there. Annoyed by her high-maintenance tiger, Euna groans internally. Relenting, Whiskers gestures for her to just come to bed. Instead, Euna instantly poofs into her boar form, claiming it keeps her warmer. She insists that sleeping beside him in human form feels completely wrong. Pulling her close, Whiskers grumbles that he is cold as well. Hearing this, her piglet brothers leap onto his chest to shield him from the draft. Under the soft glow of the moon, Whiskers lies covered in furry little bodies. Feeling cozy at last, he mutters that he can actually sleep like this. Silence settles over the dark room, but Euna lies awake, trying to figure out how to test his missing memories. She contemplates leading him into the maze forest to see how he reacts. Suddenly, Whiskers breaks the quiet with a sharp prompt. Even with his eyes closed, he accurately notes that she is wide awake. When she reacts in surprise, he explains his instincts sense when someone wants to kill him. He teasingly adds that those instincts also pick up when someone is turned on. Blushing slightly, he asks if that happens to be her motive. Flustered, Euna shouts that she was merely checking on his head injury. Tucking herself into the blanket, she quickly wishes Whiskers a good night. Whiskers growls in annoyance at the silly name, while Euna weakly apologizes. Euna plans to sneak out with her brothers as soon as Whiskers falls asleep, but before she knows it, morning arrives, and she accidentally sleeps through the night. Waking up in a panic, she suddenly remembers her piglets and gasps when she sees them nibbling on the sleeping tiger. Horrified, she realizes her tiny brothers are somehow treating a predator like food. Quickly transforming back into her human form, she tidies her outfit and, stealing her resolve, vows to get rid of him for good. Taking a deep breath to calm her nerves, she leans over to wake him up, only for Whiskers to instantly snap his eyes open with wild intensity. Clutching her pounding heart, Euna complains that he could have woken up gently, but Whiskers grunts that he sensed danger. She brushes off his alarm and announces it is time to start their morning routine. When Whiskers stares at his meal in sheer disbelief, she hands him a bowl of vegetable soup, prompting him to demand where the meat is. Looking closer, he notices actual insects floating inside the bowl, recoiling in utter disgust. Outside on the porch, Euna smoothly lectures him on how ancient healers praised silkworms and grasshoppers, admitting with a straight face that they just hype up bugs because it is all they can afford. She then cheerfully insists that he loves eating them, leaving the tiger completely bewildered. She doubles down on her lie, insisting that as a cat, he loves bugs and hates meat. Whiskers stares in utter confusion as she pushes the spoon right to his mouth. She happily feeds him a bite, and he forces himself to swallow it down. He immediately retches in disgust, leaving Euna frustrated that her trick failed. When she blames his memory loss, Whiskers insists nobody should eat bugs and offers to cook next time, making her secretly pray there is no next time. Later, walking under the trees, Whiskers asks where they are going. Euna claims it is morning exercise to hunt for plants, reptiles, and bugs, a list Whiskers thoroughly despises. She hastily adds birds to the options, which instantly piques his interest. Seeing her opportunity, Euna points in opposite directions and suggests they split up. Whiskers unsuspectingly agrees, and they walk away from each other. Watching him walk down the path, she gasps with glee as he falls straight into a hidden maze. Believing nobody can ever escape it, she sprints off in pure joy, cheering that she is finally free. However, Whiskers instantly catches her from behind, asking where she is going as she screams in terror. Whiskers smirks, boasting that he is quite a climber and saw her watching from afar. He suspects she deliberately left him behind, leaving Euna stammering in shock. Thinking fast, Euna turns around and loudly scolds him for doubting her, crying that she was only keeping distance so he wouldn't get lost and was running for help. She throws her arms around his chest, sobbing how glad she is that he is safe, catching Whiskers completely off guard. She buries her face into his chest, making him wonder if she is actually crying for him. Whiskers blushes, regretting his suspicion, while Euna secretly curses him for ruining her escape. Believing her tearful act, as Euna plans her next move, Whiskers gently pats her head. He softly assures her that he is all right, and she dramatically shouts back that she knows. Flustered, Whiskers clears his throat and suggests they continue their daily routine. Euna then buries Whiskers up to his neck in dirt, claiming it cools him down every day. When he asks if she is trying to cover his face, she laughs that his face needs cooling too. She dusts off her hands, promising to fetch him a drink and telling him to stay put. Whiskers sits trapped in the dirt, completely immobilized, as Euna sprints off into the distance, attempting another escape. Euna runs as fast as her legs can carry her, dusting herself off as she finally makes it back home. She collapses onto the porch, gasping for water in front of her shocked piglet brothers. As the afternoon passes quietly in the village, Euna proudly explains how she trapped Whiskers in a hole. Her brother doubts a tiny hole could ever hold someone like him, but Euna insists she walked in circles and buried him deep. Just then, Whiskers casually strolls right back into the yard. He warns her that she took too long and shouldn't leave his side, turning her pale with shock. Scrambling to recover, she offers him a bowl of water and nervously agrees. Her brother whispers that her boar-brained plan completely failed. He lies back, musing that splitting wood isn't about brute force, but hitting the exact right spot. That gives Euna a sudden spark of inspiration. Abandoning all carefully plotted schemes, she decides to just go wild. When Whiskers brushes off his arms and admits he dislikes being dirty, Euna grabs his clothes and aggressively insists on giving him a shower. Whiskers steps back, sweating nervously as he notices she isn't blinking. She leans closer with a terrifying grin, asking if he sees her tender, loving care. He turns away, muttering that his instincts are telling him something very different. That night under the full moon, she pours fresh water over him at the outdoor pond. As Whiskers notices her hands trembling violently around the water basin, he wonders why her face is suddenly so red and flushed. He stares at her in quiet confusion before reaching out to offer to take the water himself. But Euna panics and tries to pull away, causing the basin to slip and spill everywhere. In the chaos, she stumbles right into his chest, triggering another dark surge of memories deep within him. Euna looks up in utter terror, frantically backing away and offering to fetch another bowl. Whiskers fights back his wild tiger instincts, wanting to draw her close, but fearing he will scare her off. As he resolves to keep his composure, Euna quietly raises a heavy wooden basin right behind his head. She smashes it down with a loud crack, feigning panic and apologizing for slipping. The violent impact rattles his skull once more, while Euna secretly schemes to keep hitting him daily so his memory never returns. But Whiskers suddenly grabs her wrist in midair, pulling her close and announcing that she just gave him another glimpse of his past. He smiles, explaining that each blow actually makes his memories of her clearer and clearer. Euna freezes in horror as he whispers that her face is becoming engraved in his mind. He pulls her into a tight embrace, declaring that his instincts will always guide him back to her. Euna can only gawk in despair, realizing her brilliant plan just bound them together forever. He remembers her affection for cute little cats, while imagining himself as a giant, harmless tiger eager to please her. Meanwhile, Euna, in her boar form, freaks out, realizing they aren't even the same species. She decides her only option is to tame him into a gentle house cat. As she looms over his sleeping form, Whiskers senses danger creeping up on him once again. The next morning, Euna begins grinding herbs in a wooden bowl. Whiskers questions why they aren't out hunting, but Euna insists he needs to rest after yesterday's traumatic injuries. She loudly recites all his near-death blunders, though Whiskers dryly points out she caused most of them. Euna quickly hushes him, demanding he focus strictly on recovering. When he asks if this means another round of veggie bug soup, she promises to hunt later if he just concentrates. She dramatically claims his life is cursed and needs healing before things get worse. She warns that next time, a weapon might drop from the sky and strike his most sensitive areas, ending any chance of future children. She orders him to be terrified for his life before contradicting herself by telling him not to fear. Leaning in close, she vows to protect him with her own life, calling him her innocent little scaredy cat. Her sweet words send Whiskers' heart racing uncontrollably. Overcome by instinct, Whiskers suddenly reaches out and crushes her wooden bowl with his bare hand. Looming over her with a predatory grin, he announces that he's hungry. Euna stammers through the shock, weakly claiming the bowl was fragile and easy to break anyway. She announces she's going out to hunt birds, and Whiskers immediately offers to join her. Euna panics and shouts a firm refusal. She tells him it's time he accepted his proper role as a local male. Whiskers dryly asks what that role is supposed to be. She explains that male boars never work, staying pure and modest while their mates feed them like precious pearls hidden in shells. She points to male boars lying around doing nothing as proof. Whiskers, unimpressively, thinks those pearls were better off kept hidden. Leaning in close to her, he asks what she really means, making her visibly flustered. Euna quickly doubles down, declaring herself the eternal guardian of his unread scroll, leaving Whiskers utterly confused. She tells him to treasure her protection, instructing him to stay chaste like an innocent pussycat until his patience snaps. With a dark, serious glare, Whiskers asks her to repeat what she just said. Realizing she pushed her luck too far, Euna breaks into a sweat. Luckily, a neighbor calls her over, giving Euna a chance to bolt away while Whiskers watches her retreat. She desperately whispers to her friend that Whiskers tried to hunt her, fearing real hunting will unleash his true tiger instincts. Her friend sighs and agrees to help her hunt food instead. Noticing Euna sweating profusely, her friend asks why, and Euna groans that the stubborn tiger refuses to accept being a pussycat. Her friend encourages her, claiming repetition will make anyone believe anything, so she should break the tiger down while he's weak. She brags that she convinced her past boyfriend he'd die a miserable death without her. Euna dryly tells her she's terrible. Unbothered, her friend convinces her to help rot their men's brains. Euna tells Whiskers to relax while the women hunt, but he sternly warns he'll come find her if she's gone too long. She asks for a sweeter tone, but his intimidating glare ruins the flowers around his words. Euna sets off for the mountain, first telling her piglet brothers to hide in the small room. Left alone, Whiskers acknowledges that he did protect her, yet he remains confused by why his mouth waters around her, and why the house bears no trace of his past. Searching around, he wonders why nothing here feels uniquely his. Inside, he finds only Euna's belongings, her brother's clothes, 2 blankets, a pillow, and a single spoon. Reaching into a drawer, he pulls out a small object tufted with black and white fur. The fur triggers a sudden memory of pinning Euna to the ground. A sharp pain shoots through his head as dark tiger stripes flash in his mind. Whiskers tries to rationalize it, convincing himself it's just a cat's stripe. Staring at the fur piece, he wonders if it's merely a toy. Completely lost, he admits he has no idea what's happening, right as a sudden thud echoes in the room. Looking around, Whiskers notes that these are all of Euna's belongings, realizing she barely owns anything. The house feels empty, like no one truly belongs here, leaving him determined to learn more about her. Stepping outside, he feels someone following him and turns to find Euna's piglet brothers tailing his footsteps. They admit they just like walking behind someone big, so Whiskers asks about their parents and how Euna became their sister. The piglets explain they aren't blood-related. Their mothers were regular boars who abandoned them when they first turned human. Whiskers listens quietly as they reveal the old matriarch raised and hid them from humans, with Min suddenly reciting a dramatic line about bonds of fate surpassing blood. Whiskers remarks on how weirdly Min talks, and Junie explains his brother loves repeating lines from human books. Min learned to read by eavesdropping on a school down the mountain, while Junie stole snacks. Figuring Min is the smart one, Whiskers thinks he might actually have answers and asks what Euna thinks of him, only for Min to quote a grand line about a woman's shifting heart. When Whiskers asks for a practical suggestion, Min solemnly explains that among boars, the most common request a female makes of her mate is sex. Whiskers stares in disbelief, asking if the piglet even knows what that word means. Min bluntly admits he has no idea what it means, so Whiskers urges him to keep those books sealed from now on. Changing the subject, Min explains that female boars work hard and release stress by having affairs, leaving Whiskers stunned to hear that boars cheat. The piglets add that everyone constantly swaps partners, convinced it keeps the peace. They explain how boars rotate mates and simply hide it better whenever jealousy flares up. Apart from the old matriarch, monogamy is practically non-existent among them. Whiskers stands completely speechless, processing this ridiculous culture lesson. Suddenly alarmed, he asks if Euna has someone special to relieve her stress. The piglets answer no, though they mention she constantly talks about the most beautiful man she ever met. Whiskers panics at the thought of her preferring another man. Realizing she could easily start seeing someone else behind his back, he decides he cannot let that happen while his memory is gone. Remembering she never actually accepted his feelings, he realizes she owes him zero loyalty, which poses a serious problem. Irritated by the thought of her with anyone else, he vows to stop it from happening. With a sly smirk, he makes up his mind. He drops into a low hunting stance, his eyes burning with predatory focus. Watching him, the piglets whisper nervously, suspecting this was the exact behavior they were supposed to prevent. Surging into the forest, Whiskers chases down a running deer, feeling instantly at home in the hunt. As his vision sharpens and his heart races with thrill, his tiger instincts fully awaken. As the deer bounds away, saliva pools in his mouth. Chasing it down through the dark trees, a surge of primal instinct guides his movement. He leaps directly onto the fleeing prey, snapping its neck with a loud crack as blood splatters across his face. Panting heavily from the rush of the kill, he grips the fresh carcass, overcome by raw hunger. He bites straight into the flesh, finding it surprisingly delicious. But as he sits beside his prey, Euna enters his mind. A sudden chill runs through him when he catches himself wondering if she would taste like this too. Horrified by the predatory thought, he drops the deer to the ground. He clutches his head in panic, wondering if he was supposed to be in love with her. He envisions her gentle face, remembering how soft her skin felt, and wanting to touch her shoulder, leaning in close to kiss her. He drops to the ground, grabbing his head as he questions if he even wants that. Recalling them standing together under the moon, his thoughts grow increasingly tangled. Blushing with frustration, he realizes he shouldn't blindly believe everything she said. Without any memories or proof, Nothing actually binds him to her words. Refusing to accept that he was just a helpless cat clinging to her for protection, he stares ahead, wondering who he truly is. Carrying the deer back, he resolves to prove he is her best candidate so she won't leave him. Noticing the piglets overhearing him, he asks them for one last favor. The piglets wonder if their turn is next, hoping he fattens them up first. Meanwhile, Euna and her friend return, noticing a delicious smell in the air. Approaching the yard, Euna gasps in horror at her brothers lying beside a campfire. Dropping her bag in panic, she fears the worst for them. But one piglet burps and sits up, explaining they passed out from eating so well. As Whiskers holds out a cooked leg, the piglets admit they cheered while he cooked and cleaned. Euna stares in shock, realizing he went out hunting. Slabs of roasted meat sit prepared on the chopping block. When he offers her a piece, she stammers in total shock. She suddenly shouts at him, demanding to know why he did this. Whiskers sits back, utterly baffled by her reaction. Panicking that he moved around and hunted, she despairs over what happens now. Unable to take it, she screams that they are never becoming mates. She slams the door shut, leaving him staring in silence. He mutters that he thought female boars wanted this, while her friend happily eats the meat. Thrilled by his skills, her friend decides to try her own flirting technique. Her plan involves brainwashing him through constant repetition. She repeatedly asks if he is lonely and miserable, making Whiskers wonder why she is chanting like a curse. As the neighbor friend runs off, chasing a piglet with her chants, Whiskers wonders if Euna is really mad just because he disobeyed her. The piglets mention Euna often talks about a remarkably handsome man she once met. Whiskers suspects she is using his hunting as an excuse to replace him with that pretty boy. He resents obeying her like a pet, while she holds the power to throw him away. As a door slams shut, the piglets joke that their sister is about to be totally won over. Whiskers enters Euna's room and finds her crying under a blanket, asking what is wrong. Sobbing beneath the blanket, she admits she failed to tame him and feels hopeless. She claims hunting is her responsibility, but he counters that 3 small birds a day isn't enough. When she demands obedience, he directly asks what authority she actually holds over him. She stammers, caught off guard by his question. Leaning in close, he suggests he might listen if they were closer. Embarrassed by how desperate he sounded, a blush creeps across his face. He rephrases, saying he would obey her if they were in an exclusive relationship. Looking her in the eye, he asks if she even genuinely cares for him. Euna stutters, unable to answer. Seeing her tears, he admits he wants to believe she truly wants him around. He explains that he cannot endure hunger and lacks any memory of their past. Euna listens quietly as he admits that blindly taking her orders feels wrong. He confronts her directly, saying claims of past love mean nothing when it feels entirely one-sided. Whiskers points out that their lack of a real connection is the real problem between them. Recognizing his sincerity, Euna worries because she refuses to deceive him just to make him obey. Trying to move past it, she promises to provide enough meat for every single meal. As she turns, Whiskers reaches out and firmly grabs her wrist, catching her completely off guard. He quietly asks if food is really all that matters, demanding to know why she allowed him to stay when she claimed he once loved her. Euna pulls her hand away, stammering that he simply protected her family when he was human. Whiskers stares at her silently, then asks if she never wanted a serious romantic relationship with him. He insists that 2 adults sharing a roof and blanket naturally implies something deeper. Euna backs away, insisting they shared a bed purely for safety when he was just a docile cat. He asks how she could live like that without any romantic intention, admitting softly that he could never do such a thing. Euna looks up at him, stunned by his raw honesty. He demands to know what she truly wants from their relationship so he can have a clear purpose to follow her rules. Euna hesitates, starting to reply, as he stands tall right in front of her, holding her gaze in silent anticipation. With a hurt expression, he reminds her that she was the one who told him he loved her. Euna asks if his past feelings matter if he doesn't feel anything right now. Whiskers turns back, insisting he does, leaning close to ask if she feels it too. As Euna stands frozen, he scolds her for naively bringing a grown man into her house. Leaning in close, he whispers that his mouth waters whenever he sees her. He brings up hearing that female boars value physical intimacy above all, teasingly asking if that's why she took him in, which makes Euna shout out in denial. Flustered, Euna explains she wants a lifelong marriage with one man, insisting it's too early for this conversation. She asks him not to rush things and promises to think about it later, reassuring him she will still provide meat every day. Internally, she panics, knowing they shouldn't be getting closer at all. Whiskers demands she at least treat him as the frontrunner until his memories return, telling her not to look at anyone else. Euna softly agrees, silently laughing since she is the most boring boar in the village, so there's no competition. Whiskers smiles, satisfied with her answer, leaving Euna to let out a tired sigh. Later, sitting together on the floor, Whiskers notes the room smells weird, and Euna tells him it's just clean. As he insists on keeping things tidy, Euna pouts, admitting to herself that at least one good thing came from this. Whiskers hands Euna a piece of seasoned meat he prepared, urging her to eat. Euna takes a bite and marvels at how delicious it is, while Whiskers smugly boasts that he's the better cook. When Euna asks him to stop hunting deer, he insists he needs real meat, so she mentions knowing a way to get meat without hunting. Deep down, Euna grieves the thought of digging up her precious saved coins, pouting bitterly at him for forcing her to spend them. Seeing her pouting face, Whiskers reaches over and pinches her lips shut, teasingly asking if she was puckering up for a kiss. He playfully accuses her of having dirty thoughts when she brought him home, threatening to call her brothers. Panicking, Euna lunges forward to stop him, reaching out as her piglet brothers peek inside through the door. Whiskers quickly grabs her robe and pulls her back, slamming the door shut. Outside, her brothers assume their sister is the one getting a feast. Early the next morning, Euna transforms into a boar and rushes through the forest. She stops to look around frantically, anxious to find her secret spot before the tiger man wakes up. Hidden in the trees, Whiskers secretly watches her, wondering if she's meeting another man. But as she starts frantically digging in the soil, he realizes she's searching for something else. Catching her strong scent in the dirt, he stays hidden and watches her carefully. Whiskers unearths a cloth pouch filled with human coins from the forest dirt. He marvels at how strongly Euna's scent clings to it, wondering why she had trouble finding it. Suddenly, a soft puff of smoke bursts through the trees, revealing Euna as she transforms back into her human form. Whiskers turns around, standing frozen in the middle of the woods. His eyes widen in shock as he takes in her sudden appearance. Euna freezes, staring back at him with flushed cheeks. Looking at her barely covered shoulders, Whiskers feels his pulse spike once more, swallowing hard as his mouth waters at the sight of her. He turns his head away, desperately trying to calm himself down by reasoning that animals are always naked. Euna looks down in embarrassment, wondering why she feels so self-conscious, before realizing it is entirely because of his flustered reaction. Her eyes then fall on her coin pouch, clutched in his fist. Reaching out immediately, she shouts that it belongs to her. She lunges into his chest to grab it, demanding to know where he found it as Whiskers turns bright red. Overwhelmed by her closeness, Whiskers screams for her not to touch him and bolts away into the trees. Euna shouts in disbelief at the crazy cat, sprinting right after him and ordering him to give it back. Calling him a furry thief, she pursues him down the forest path until she snatches her coin pouch back and suddenly stops in surprise. She looks up to see Whiskers staring down at her with wild, intense eyes. Before she can react, he tackles her straight onto the forest floor. Pinned beneath his heavy frame, Euna gasps in utter shock, only for Whiskers to lean close and suddenly lick her cheek. Euna shrieks in utter panic as Whiskers hovers over her, demanding to know why he is licking her. Staring into his wild gaze, she worries he has gone completely feral. Pinned beneath his massive body, she feels like a helpless mouse under a giant cat. As he leans back down, his tongue flickers near her collarbone, licking off a tiny caterpillar crawling on her skin. Disgusted, Whiskers spits it out, while Euna angrily scolds him for being a bad kitty. Still flustered, Whiskers turns away, wondering what came over him. Euna clutches her robe shut, warning that he won't get any promised meat if he keeps acting wild. Shielding his flushed face with his arm, Whiskers stammers an apology and asks her to put clothes on. Euna blinks in confusion, reminding him that boar shapeshifters rarely care about clothes since they are half animals anyway. Whiskers hesitates, admitting that seeing her bare skin made him lose composure. In truth, he cannot stop thinking about how her skin tasted just like a soft rice cake. Feeling a rush of temptation, he sharply slaps his own face to snap out of it, while Euna tilts her head in bewilderment. He mentally blames his crazy reaction on pure hunger from days of starving. Relieved, Euna happily checks her coin pouch to confirm every coin is accounted for. Whiskers sits up and teases her weak boar nose for missing the pouch in the first place. Euna gasps as Whiskers notes she could not even track her own scent to her buried pouch. Defensive, she stammers an excuse, but Whiskers teasingly asks if that is why another woman had to help her hunt. Euna realizes exposing her weaknesses to a predator is risky, but leaving a starving tiger in a boar village is worse. Trying to save face, she dramatically claims to hold a secret identity, proudly declaring to the sky that she is actually human. Whiskers looks deadpan, asking what she is trying to pull now. Euna clarifies that she belongs to human society, leading him to ask if she lives among them. She explains that while she does not live with them, she does business with them. When mountain food runs low, she gathers plants other boars ignore and sells them down below for coins. Clutching her pouch with drooling joy, she gushes over her precious, shiny money. Whiskers gently wipes the drool off her chin, secretly jealous she never looks at him like that. As she cradles her pouch, he asks why her human trade must be kept a secret. Euna admits that visiting humans is forbidden, and the matriarch would banish her forever if she found out. Besides, she turns back into a boar far too easily around people. Whiskers listens intently, then tenderly cups her cheek, touched that she is using her hard-earned money just to feed him. Euna turns wide-eyed at his sudden affection, while Whiskers smiles, confident they are growing closer now that she trusts him with her secrets. Euna's heart melts from his touch, fearing these gentle hands will be her downfall. Leaning into his embrace, she reminds herself that guiding him to human society is better than facing a starving tiger. Watching from the side, her brother gushes over how heartwarming their growing bond looks. But overwhelmed by the emotion, Euna suddenly poofs into her child form, leaving Whiskers completely confused. She shyly explains that intense feelings trigger her transformation. After composing themselves, they head down the mountain toward the human village below. Approaching the edge, Euna admits the human settlement always makes her nervous. Looking over the market, she notices it feels much more crowded than usual today. She reassures herself that having a strong tiger and capable brothers beside her makes her safe. But turning around, she gasps in confusion. Whiskers stands completely frozen, paralyzed by sudden, intense dread. Euna asks what on earth is wrong with him. Covering his face, Whiskers stammers that he needs time to process what is happening. Her brother offers to watch over him so she can go complete her trade. Euna agrees and promises to return quickly, leaving Whiskers crouching in misery. Walking away, she fumes over how easily he broke down after making her worry so much. Meanwhile, Whiskers clutches his head, trying to make sense of his overwhelming anxiety. Glancing at the passing townspeople, he wonders why human presence fills him with such unease. He was fine surrounded by boar villagers, making him wonder if it is the sheer density of humans. The constant heavy footsteps and relentless movement begin to trigger forgotten instincts. Crouching under the weight of his anxiety, Whiskers feels as if the entire world is locking him in a cage. Gasping for air, he tries to steady his racing heart. Overwhelmed, he tells Euna's brother that he needs to turn back immediately. The young boy asks if he really intends to just leave his sister behind. That question hits Whiskers hard, forcing him to reconsider. Nodding in agreement, the boy decides they should go search for her together. Seeing Whiskers still frozen, he kindly reassures him and suggests taking it one step at a time. Hesitantly, Whiskers lifts one leg high into the air. He pauses for a second, balancing awkwardly on one foot. Then he stomps it down firmly against the ground. He realizes that finding Euna is the only thing that will help him calm down. Psyching himself up, he tells himself to lift his chin and look forward. Keeping his back straight, he forces himself to push ahead. He begins taking deliberate, heavy stomps through the forest. Right behind him, the little brother mimics his exact, exaggerated march, step for step. The Piglet brothers whisper back and forth, casually deciding to follow their leader's strange new walk. Together they march into the crowded market, drawing bewildered stares from everyone around them. One vendor even shouts out, asking if Whiskers had an accident, and offers to sell him new pants. Surprised by the bizarre movement, two locals wonder if this is just a trendy new style among young people. Curious, an older man tries the deep stance himself, surprised to find it makes a pretty good exercise. The locals quickly agree that the strange stance does wonders for their legs and posture. A neighbor calls out, asking Kim what on earth he is doing. Meanwhile, Euna arrives at Dr. Yim's house with her newly gathered herbs. Seeing more men stomping past, she mutters that she will never understand human trends. She hands over the plants, asking if these were the ones he wanted. Dr. Yim quietly inspects the fresh greenery spread before him. He offers a single coin as payment for the whole batch. Outraged, Euna shouts that he paid far more during her last visit. The doctor claims prices dropped and asks who else would buy from an outsider like her. He points sternly, reminding her that she has no business permit. Stunned by the word, Euna stammers in utter confusion. She begs for a fair price, but he insists he needs to save money too. Secretly, he is hoarding cash to build himself a new house. He dismissively flips the single coin onto the counter and tells her to take it. Before she can answer, a hand taps firmly against the table. A calm voice interjects, stating that one coin is far too low. A handsome noble in green silk adds that this is no way to treat a lady. Flustered, Euna gazes up at her defender in awe. Just then, someone calls out to Mr. Hak Jin from down the street. As he turns, Euna remembers first meeting this noble when she found him collapsed in her forest. He was crawling on the forest floor, weakly begging for water. Although Euna knew she was forbidden from helping humans, she had never seen a man so handsome. When he reached out his hand, She grabbed it without hesitation. Taken off guard, he gasped as she suddenly yanked him off the ground. She hoisted him onto her shoulder, reassuring him that she had water back at her place. He weakly pointed toward the waterfall right behind them, but she just told him to hang in there. As she marched uphill, he grumbled under his breath that she was trying to kill him. Panicking, she urged him not to die on her. He whimpered that it would be her fault if he died, while she carried him past the giant tree into her hidden realm, knowing he would have no idea how he got there. Back at her cottage, she laid him down comfortably under a blanket. Opening his eyes, he admitted that she had saved his life. When she kindly asked if he was feeling better, he chuckled, genuinely surprised to still be alive. Checking beneath the covers, he quietly wondered if he was being held captive. She then offered him a warm bowl of soup, but he hesitantly asked her to take a bite first. Smiling nervously, he claimed that seeing someone else eat always helped build his appetite. After Euna takes a bite to prove it is harmless, he realizes the food is safe and gratefully drinks from the bowl. Though it tastes like bitter medicine to him, he politely compliments her effort, leaving her charmed by how elegantly he speaks. When he asks where he is, she simply tells him she found him lost in the mountains. He stammers out a sweet thank you to his savior, and she is completely dazzled by his handsome looks. Noticing the wild plants floating in his soup, he asks about them, surprised to learn she eats them for food when they are actually valuable medicinal herbs. He offers to write down the location of an apothecary where she can sell them, joking that the owner always complains boars eat all the wild herbs on the mountain. When he hands her the written note, she sheepishly admits that she cannot read. He quickly draws a visual map instead, but she cheerfully says she will take the written note for her brother to read. As he nervously asks if there is any problem with him leaving, she rests her chin in thought, wondering how to guide him out without letting him learn the way back. She then reappears, holding a massive wooden club, insisting it is just a walking staff to help her keep her balance on the mountain. Hak Jin readily accepts her explanation that the heavy club is just a walking stick. He steps forward, ready to head out, though he pauses briefly, almost mistaking her for someone else. Shaking off his confusion, he smiles and agrees to set off. But as soon as his back is turned, Euna winds up her massive wooden club and whacks him over the head. He collapses unconscious, leaving her worrying she hit him too hard, yet reassuring herself that no human can ever learn the location of her village. She carries him deep into the woods, whispering that he will be home soon. A moment later, Hak Jin gasps awake with a terrified scream, only to see Euna smiling down at him, claiming he fell down the hill and passed out again. Still dazed, he rubs his head and sheepishly thanks her for looking after him. She hands him a container of water for his trip, which he gratefully accepts. Bowing politely, she wishes him a safe journey, and he begins walking down the mountain path while she watches from above. He takes a few cautious steps downhill, leaving her standing quietly on the slope. Suddenly, intense panic seizes him as Euna watches in complete confusion, unaware why he is suddenly cowering in total horror. Euna blinks in utter confusion. She offers to walk him down, but Hak Jin screams in panic, begging her to stay back. He shouts a quick thanks and runs off, leaving Euna pleased with how well her trick worked. As Hak Jin flees, he recalls seeing Whiskers earlier and marveling at his incredible looks. Hak Jin's vanity runs deep, rooted in a childhood where he and his parents were all flawlessly handsome. To him, beauty was normal, so encountering ordinary people was a tragic shock. Whenever he saw average household servants, he would sob inconsolably, weeping that their faces were a cruel curse upon his eyes. To solve his pain, he began crafting masks for any servant lacking beauty, infuriating the staff as he gleefully tried to mask them all. He believed ugliness must either be hidden or decorated. Though his parents urged him to study and become a government official, Hak Jin used his beauty to sell cosmetics, building a thriving business before traveling to expand his empire. In the last village, he publicly berated men for walking around barefaced, declaring that buying his cosmetics was a moral duty. Instead, the angry locals cracked him over the head and chased him away with torches, which was how he got lost on the mountain. That was where Hak Jin first met Euna, when he stepped up to talk to her on the mountain. But that meeting came at a heavy cost, because he ended up bedridden with a severe concussion for 3 whole months. Once he finally recovered, he ran into her again near the medicine shop. He instantly regretted breaking his golden rule to check a girl's face before approaching. When the apothecary asked if his headache treatment was finished, Hak Jin said he just needed one final checkup. Euna asked what had happened to him back then, but he genuinely had no idea he had been knocked out. After taking his medicine from the doctor, he noticed Dr. Yim pressuring Euna to sell her rare herbs for cheap. Nearby villagers whispered about how greedy the pharmacist always was, putting Hak Jin's public image as a suave gentleman on the line. Unable to stand by, Hak Jin stepped in, warning the doctor that her herbs were worth far more. Dr. Yim argued that no one else would buy from an unlicensed seller. Without missing a beat, Hak Jin declared they would simply get her a permit. He called across the village to ask the market clerk for an extra permit. Euna eagerly shouted out her name and what she was selling, and within moments, she held her very own official business permit. With her license secured, she turned back to face the stunned apothecary. Euna smugly asks the doctor how he plans to buy her herbs now, leaving him completely silent. When he offers just 1 extra coin, she instantly agrees to the deal. She turns to thank Hak Jin and offers to buy him lunch, but he politely declines. Privately, he is delighted that helping her boosted his local popularity and potential sales. Euna insists on offering him a rice cake instead. Hak Jin pauses in surprise before warmly accepting her gesture. But as he holds it, Euna leans forward and takes a bite right out of it. She cheerfully explains she remembered he hates taking the first bite, leaving him stuttering awkward thanks. Internally, he finds her utterly exhausting, wondering if she is some evil mountain spirit. Noticing the crowd, he knows he must maintain his refined image. He offers to buy her proper merchant clothes, which she eagerly accepts. But the moment he hands them over, she starts stripping down right in front of everyone. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the market, Euna's brothers realize they are completely lost. They whisper in panic as Whiskers stoops over, on the verge of turning into a full tiger. They joke about feeding nearby humans to him before he turns on them. Overwhelmed by sensory overload, Whiskers struggles to hold on to his sanity. The overwhelming mix of human sense makes it impossible to track Euna. He curses himself for losing sight of his only connection to his past and begins counting his steps out loud to regain control. Whiskers looks on in utter disbelief as a group of villagers copy his movements and start counting out loud. When they eagerly call him their master, he stomps away in frustration, shouting at them to stop using that title. But they immediately offer him a handful of coins, begging him to teach them how to relieve their aches. Realizing how much Euna loves shiny money, he hesitates. Before he can react, little Min takes over the lesson, preaching about discipline like a martial arts guru. Min berates the adults for throwing money around recklessly, prompting the crowd to bow and apologize in shame. Whiskers facepalms mentally, wondering how a simple exercise routine turned into an accidental cult. When an elder reverently asks for the name of this sacred movement, Min solemnly declares it the path to strengthened legs. He enthusiastically explains how firm legs lead to healthy digestion, effortless sleep, and even smoother childbirth. The villagers react in awe, fully captivated by the child's absurd lecture. Overwhelmed by the madness, Whiskers clutches his head in despair, but pockets the coins so he can hand them over to Euna. As he searches the busy market, he deliriously wishes she belonged to him so she could guide him everywhere. Distracted by the surrounding chatter, he vividly remembers the taste of her skin from earlier. With a sudden snap of clarity, he realizes that faint memory is no longer enough to keep his tiger instincts in check. Feeling on the verge of collapsing, Whiskers frantically dashes through the crowd, searching for Euna. Suddenly, her distinct scent cuts through the sensory overload. Driven by his awakening beast instincts, he zeroes in on her location just as she finishes trying on clothes, while Hak Jin politely covers his eyes. Euna barely has time to turn around before a sudden gust of wind sweeps across the alley, snatching her away in an instant and leaving Hak Jin completely bewildered. Grumbling under his breath, Hak Jin mutters that a proper goodbye would have been polite. Meanwhile, in a quiet, secluded spot, Whiskers pins Euna against a wall and eagerly licks her cheek. As he keeps licking her face, Euna stammers in total shock. He softly whispers that she tastes completely delicious, sending her internal thoughts into wild chaos. Nuzzling her gently, he murmurs that she was always this sweet. He then possessively demands to know why she was undressing in front of another man, while she insists she was only changing coats. Looking into her eyes, he asks why she shared her scent with him. Euna blushes and stammers, utterly baffled by his question. As he smothers her with cat-like affection, she desperately wishes for a bug to distract him. Spotting a green caterpillar crawling on the wooden wall nearby, she reaches out her hand to grab it. Just before Euna can grab the caterpillar, Whiskers grabs her wrist. He leans in close, telling her that trick won't work this time. Warning her to stay still, he announces he is marking her right now and licks her cheek. Euna completely freezes, overwhelmed by his intense presence. Whiskers gazes down at her before pulling her into a warm embrace and patting her back. He sits down on the ground with her tucked tightly against his chest, tenderly licking her forehead and nuzzling her cheek. He buries his face into her, leaning close to breathe in her scent. Euna stares in utter surprise, slowly reaching out her hand to pat his head. She realizes he isn't acting like a predator, but like a small creature asking to be soothed. He didn't track her down out of hunger. He came to her for affection. As she comforts him, memories of her own childhood suddenly resurface, recalling how her mother wrapped the piglets in a warm, safe embrace. She remembers that for animals, licking is how bonds are formed and love is shown. Whiskers was simply seeking comfort because he missed her so deeply, though she still can't help wondering if she's secretly just food. As Euna pats his back, she sympathizes with his deep need for comfort. Whiskers lets out a soft sigh, holding her close and resting his head against her shoulder. When she asks if he is okay, he apologizes for losing control and asks if he made her uncomfortable. She quietly reassures him that it was all right, bringing a gentle smile to his face. He confesses that he fears humans far more than he expected, admitting that being surrounded by them makes him feel trapped. Euna wonders to herself if hunters once chased him, before explaining that it is natural to feel nervous around humans. She notes how hard it is to feel safe in a place where you don't belong. Whiskers considers her words carefully, then warmly suggests that maybe he belongs with her instead. Euna flushes in shock, looking down in silent embarrassment. Noticing her sudden change in mood, Whiskers suddenly licks her cheek again. He explains that she didn't look fine, asking if she truly doesn't want to be with him. Euna despairs internally as the conversation loops right back around, only for Whiskers to remind her that he already marked her first. Euna panics internally at hearing a predator speak about marking her, but Whiskers suddenly notices the straw hat in her hand. When Euna explains Mr. Hak Jin gave it to her, Whiskers sharply asks if he was the guy she was stripping for, prompting Euna to yell that she wasn't. Whiskers mutters in frustration that he should have looked closer at the man's face, leaving Euna desperate to change the subject. She quickly suggests going back to find her brothers, only to suddenly stop in her tracks. Panicked, she asks where they are, but Whiskers casually replies that they are building a cult. Stunned, Euna can barely process his answer, especially when she spots Junie being carried on a flower-covered litter, shouting for the crowd to lift him higher. Horrified, Euna desperately hopes they are preparing him as food rather than worshipping him. Whiskers quickly moves into action just as Junie waves to the crowd, instantly snatching the boy off the litter in midair. Reunited, Junie cheerfully greets his sister, while Euna dryly remarks on all his new friends. Junie praises how kind humans are, while Whiskers begs them to consider his fragile cat's soul. Euna realizes this is the very first time Whiskers has called himself a cat. She bursts out laughing and warmly reassures her cat not to worry, causing Whiskers to blush at being called hers. But when his stomach growls, Whiskers announces her cat is hungry, leaving Euna thoroughly unimpressed. Euna points out a roadside inn between the village and mountain, where Whiskers can finally relax and eat. She politely asks the innkeeper for 3 chicken stews, but when the hard-of-hearing old woman mishears and asks if she wants kitten stew, Whiskers freezes in pure shock. Euna tries to correct her, only for the innkeeper to add that they do have pork and chicken, leaving both of them utterly dumbfounded. Euna simply points at the pot to confirm chicken, and they are shown to a table. As the old woman brings their food, she compliments the nice young married couple, which Euna promptly denies. The innkeeper dispenses oddly specific marital advice anyway, before asking if little Junie is their child. Panicking, Euna stammers out an agreement, and Junie immediately calls her mom. Whiskers leans in with a smirk to call the boy son, leaving Euna thoroughly stunned. Staring at a massive stack of empty bowls, Euna mourns her vanishing savings. When Whiskers reaches to order yet another round, Euna shouts for him to wait, insisting they cannot spend every last coin here, while Whiskers assures her it will be fine. She furiously vents about how hard it is to gather and sell plants for money. Whiskers calmly offers a bundle of coins to cover the bill, sending Euna into starry-eyed delight. He smugly explains he earned it by teaching people to walk, while Junie recognizes his cult followers' money. Euna fumes in exasperation when she realizes Whiskers earned far more money than her, despite all her back-breaking labor. Whiskers calmly promises to give her all his earnings next time too, sending Euna into instant disbelief. She immediately fawns over the pouch of coins, prompting Whiskers to dryly remind her that his face is up here. Euna insists she is simply admiring his hard work, but Whiskers sulks, complaining that she fangirled over the handsome cosmetics vendor while ignoring the man giving her everything. Stunned into silence, Euna bluntly points out that his massive appetite consumes most of those earnings anyway. Defeated by her logic, Whiskers sheepishly promises to cook and clean to make up for it, bringing a cheerful laugh to Euna. As night falls, Whiskers' gaze sharpens. The group heads up the mountain trail under a starry sky, with Junie asleep on Whiskers' back. Suddenly, Whiskers stops in his tracks. He attentively sniffs the cool air, detecting something lurking in the shadows. Whiskers urgently orders Euna to run ahead fast. When she asks what is happening, he quickly hushes her, just as startled crows scatter into the sky. Euna whispers his name in rising fear, while Whiskers' beast ears emerge and his eyes narrow at the approaching danger. Whiskers whispers that he smells a large predator nearby, sending a surge of shock through Euna. She realizes that while Whiskers is a tiger, other deadly beasts might be drawn to the mountain because of him. As her hand begins to tremble with fear, Whiskers reaches down and takes her hand in his. Caught completely off guard, Euna listens as he softly promises to protect her, feeling an unexpected wave of relief. He smiles gently, telling her to hold tight so they can walk home together. Assessing the danger, he suggests taking the alternate route back since the predator recently passed. Euna tells herself she ought to pull away and keep her distance, letting her grip slip slightly from his hand. Sensing her hesitation, Whiskers glances back in confusion. Euna bows her head, lost in brief silence, before offering a smile and reassuring him that nothing is wrong. Whiskers assures her they have traveled far enough to finally relax, and though she agrees, her heart thumps loudly in her chest. Seeing him easily carry both the sleeping child and all their heavy groceries, she reminds herself how dangerous a tiger is, yet finds comfort in his steady hold. Or perhaps it is just the lingering power of his full coin pouch. As they walk through the night, Euna hears Whiskers humming and wonders if it is a lullaby. Listening closer, she realizes he is chanting Hak Jin's name over and over and asks why. Whiskers simply replies that he does not want to forget it, then starts humming about a pussycat instead, leaving Euna completely speechless. Morning soon arrives over the peaceful mountain, with birds chirping around their quiet home. A week after returning from the village, Euna is back to her daily routine, while Whiskers gathers firewood and starts preparing breakfast. He chops fresh herbs on a wooden block, just as Euna steps outside to greet him good morning. As she admires the meal, Whiskers feels a quiet joy in cooking for her, feeling a strange flutter in his chest while offering her freshly brewed tea. Euna drinks it quickly and offers to go wash up, only for Whiskers to step uncomfortably close. He hands her the bowl, teasing that cups will not clean themselves. His sudden proximity brings back his comment about belonging with her, sending her screaming backward in pure embarrassment, while Whiskers watches in confusion. Shaken by how deeply a tiger is affecting her heart, Euna plunges her face into cold water, trying to snap herself back to reality. Whiskers can only stand by, wondering what caused her outburst. Left holding the cup, Whiskers wonders why Euna ran off. Sitting outside, he ponders why she pulls back when they get close, feeling a strange stir in his chest. He feels an urge to let instinct take over, unsure where that would lead. Nearby, the piglets admit they miss eating bugs, making Whiskers feel conflicted about this family. He tells them meat is more filling, but one piglet scratches a bug from his brother's fur. Watching him eat it, Whiskers feels a sudden chill of disgust. Euna calls the piglet lucky, while Whiskers quips that the early bird gets the worm. Then, a sudden realization strikes him. He thinks back over their recent evenings, remembering how he was always sent to wash up alone before they all went to sleep together. He realizes with sudden shock that he was the only one taking daily showers. He asks if they ever bathed while he was gone, but they furiously shake their heads. When he asks about Euna's bathing habits, a piglet insists his sister is clean. However, the piglet blurts out that he hasn't bathed in a month. Whiskers drags him off to scrub him as he squeals about losing his protective dirt layer. He lays down new house rules, ordering them to bathe every few days. He adds that getting dirty outside means an instant bath, leaving Euna speechless. Just then, a neighbor woman calls over the stone wall, asking for Euna. As Euna goes to talk, Whiskers looks back at the squeaky clean, exhausted piglets. One piglet rebels immediately, diving straight back into the dirt. Meanwhile, Euna meets with the boar matriarch, assuring her the tiger is actually gentle when fed. But the matriarch explains that the community still needs a new home, since Euna exposing their location means they can no longer stay safely. She calmly reveals their solution. They have decided to kill the tiger. Euna is completely stunned. Suddenly, an old fox wearing a patterned shawl walks in, greeting Euna and remembering when she was smaller than her tail. She introduces herself as Yeonmei, an ancient fox from the eastern mountains. Yeonmei asks if they are really going through with the plot, and the matriarch confirms it. The fox warns that killing the original shape-shifting beast invites ruin, since every shapeshifter learned from him. The matriarch scoffs, questioning if secret shapeshifting was ever a true blessing. Hearing this, Euna is stunned to learn that Whiskers was the very first. Yeonmei recounts the ancient myth of two beasts in a cave, where a bear endured 100 days on garlic and mugwort, while a tiger left halfway through. The bear became a full human, and the tiger became half-human. That tiger then taught all other animals to shapeshift. Yeonmei warns that karma protects tigers, but the matriarch scoffs, determined to strike while he is weak. Unexpectedly, the fox slides a green pouch forward, explaining it will paralyze him. She slyly demands the tiger's liver as her payment. Euna looks on in utter horror as the matriarch mocks the fox's sudden change on karma. Yeonmei smugly claims no fox would pass up such an opportunity. The matriarch hands the poison pouch to Euna, ordering her to make the tiger swallow it. Noticing Euna frozen in shock, the matriarch asks why she is hesitating. Euna desperately pleads to drive him away instead of killing him. However, the matriarch reminds her that failed before, warning that as long as he breathes, their home remains in danger. Reluctantly, Euna agrees to the scheme, reasoning that Whiskers was dangerous from the start. The matriarch tells her to signal them tonight so they can enter, and Euna quietly accepts. As Euna walks away, Yeonmei asks the matriarch if she truly trusts her, noting their previous attempt to let hunger handle things failed. The fox doubts Euna has the heart to kill, but the matriarch coldly replies she will learn if she wants to stay under her protection. Meanwhile, at the cottage, Whiskers dries off the piglets, having washed both just to be thorough after a mud incident. Hearing someone approach, he turns to greet Euna with a warm smile. Looking at him, Euna makes up her mind. When Whiskers cheerfully asks about their plans for the day, she asks him to pack food and water for a trip somewhere far away. One piglet tries to dramatically leap off the bench, but Whiskers catches him and tells him to stay put. Euna begins gathering supplies, tightly tying up a travel bundle. Whiskers assumes they are just going camping and worries about the cold, oblivious to what she is doing. Euna kneels down to her little brothers, whispering for them to distract the clan so no one sees them escape together. The piglets run off screaming about a predator to draw the clan away. Grabbing Whiskers by the hand, Euna pulls him along, telling him to follow quietly while he asks what is happening. As they run, she reflects that he lost his memory because of her, and that killing him solves nothing. He has been far gentler than expected, never once treating her or her family like prey. She remains convinced that even if his memories return, he would never harm them, even as Whiskers calls her name in confusion. Euna knows he treated her better than she deserved, making her all the more determined to save him. Together, they hurry deeper into the dense forest. Euna contemplates warning him never to return, knowing how hard it will be to send him away. Yet, looking at him, she admits to herself how much she adores who he is, which is why she refuses to let him die. Reaching a high cliff face, she points out a small cave where food is plentiful and no large predator can enter. Euna assures Whiskers that the mountain tiger is gone and he will be safe here. If he feels uneasy, she suggests he can head down to the nearby human village or stay at the inn they visited before. Handing over all her money, She tells him to buy food if hunting proves difficult, reassuring him that he already knows how to hunt deer. She unrolls extra blankets and pillows for him, then offers him fire-starting rocks, only for Whiskers to suddenly catch her wrist. Looking at her, he confesses that he does not want to leave, leaving Euna completely silent. He asks why she is abandoning him, searching her face for answers. Euna agonizes internally over what to say, whether to confess he is a tiger whom the boars want dead, or admit she fears his hatred if his memory returns, making running away now seem easier. Tears fill her eyes as she realizes she is truly sad to part from him, a feeling that terrifies her most. Knowing she can reveal nothing of the real truth, she stammers that the boar community no longer tolerates another species living among them. She silences herself before admitting her clan plans to murder him, remembering with dread that he knows exactly where they live. Gasps of panic choke her as she covers her mouth, realizing she just chose a tiger over her own kind. As Whiskers gently rests a hand against her head, Euna is crushed by the realization that she has committed treason against her clan. Gently holding her face, Whiskers asks what she is really afraid of. Euna steps back, reminding him that her community only sheltered him while he was weak. He counters that he has proven he can hunt and live on his own, telling her she should be free to live however she chooses. Yet Euna insists that it is time for him to leave. As she turns away, Whiskers grabs her hand, begging to stay with her instead of being pushed aside. Surprised, Euna asks why he would even want that, and Whiskers points out that his memories still haven't returned. She coldly tells him he doesn't need her to survive. When he brings up her past promise of marriage, Euna cuts him off with a sharp no. Whiskers freezes in disbelief as Euna looks him in the eye and says they are nothing. Stunned by her harsh rejection, he can barely speak, while she lies that she only helped him out of pity while he was hurt. Assuring him he will be fine on his own, she turns and bolts through the woods, leaving Whiskers standing completely alone. Sprinting back toward her village, Euna frantically plans how to sneak in before anyone notices her absence and invent an excuse for failing to find the tiger. Glancing back as she runs, she realizes with a heavy heart that he didn't follow her. As Euna runs, she tells herself she did this for both Whiskers and her clan, yet her feet drag as if she desperately wants to turn back. She tries to convince herself the tiger can survive alone, warning herself that if his memories return, he could turn on her just like he did in the past. Unable to live among humans and knowing that staying with a tiger is suicide, she relies entirely on the matriarch's goodwill. Reminding herself to survive, as she always has, she slips back into the village just as members discuss a reported bear sighting. Her little brother asks what took her so long when the matriarch confronts her directly. Euna quickly lies, claiming she searched her home but could not find the tiger. The matriarch listens silently, so Euna adds that he likely went hunting, promising to poison him as soon as he returns. She even offers to go look for him, but the matriarch declines, wanting to avoid raising suspicion. Instead, she orders an immediate lockdown and increased patrols to await the tiger's return, leaving Euna in quiet anguish over the lie she has spun.